Hey, I'm Zac Morton
And I'm Max Jones.
with the MoJo real estate team, and we just wanted to take a couple minutes today. We've asked some questions to our clients and some people from Facebook about real estate, and they came up with a list, and we just want to take a minute to answer some of those.
This little next set of frequently asked questions are all related to being a buyer.
Why do I need a realtor, and what do they do? I think the reason you need a realtor is, or at least to interview some realtors, is because you're about ready to make the most important decision, the biggest purchase of your life, and you want to just get some perspective around that, make sure you get the proper advice. I mean, you wouldn't go to court without a lawyer. You wouldn't, you'd probably interview some doctors before you got surgery, so it's just one of those big life decisions that you just don't want to go into blind and think you can wing it, like trying to sell your own car or something. I mean, you want to get some advice before you go spend that.
You sure do. What do I need to do before I start looking at possible homes? The number one most important thing that you need to do is to get pre-approved. And we can recommend you to fantastic loan officers that we work with and trust will take a great care of
Personally
you.
use ourselves.
Yeah, personally use. And get pre-approved, because the last thing we want is for you not to have your ducks in a row. We go looking at some houses and you find your dream home, and then there's a hang up with financing that we didn't know about. So that's the most important thing to do.
How do I find out about the condition of the home that I'm considering purchasing? Well, there's this thing called the seller's disclosure, and we won't send you a load of those, but when you identify a property that you have a lot of interest in and you think it might be the one, then we'll get this document, and it's full hundreds of yes and no questions about the property. It'll save a lot of back and forth between the buyer and seller.
Yeah.
So we'll basically get that document to you, start there, and then see what questions you have after you've read through that.
The seller's disclosure in combination with us looking at the property gives you a pretty good idea. And then once you're under contract, you hire a home inspector to check every outlet and every nook and cranny. And then the next question that we got was, how do I know how much house I can afford? How I like to answer that is, I like to recommend that you think of it as a monthly payment rather than hundreds of thousands of dollars of the house, the cost of the house. Think about what you're comfortable with making in a monthly payment. And at today's interest rates, which are historically low, you can break it down to about $700 per $100,000 that you borrow. And that's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance all included. So your entire payment would be equal to that amount. So that's a good way to kind of judge how much you can afford. And then when you get pre-approved, the lender will tell you exactly what you qualify for, which is typically more than you want to spend. But they'll let you know that what the limit is.
How much should I offer, and how do negotiations work? How much do you offer depends on a lot of things. The days on market, the age of the house, where it's located, location. I mean, there's just so many things that it's really hard to say. So what we do is we'll sit down with you once you've identified that property. We'll pull up all the data around that neighborhood, that subdivision, or that area, show you what's sold down the street, what it's sold for, all that kind of stuff. And together we'll come up with that determination of how you should offer on that property.
Yeah, we can see what the seller paid for it, and we can get inside information. Days on market is a big indicator as to how negotiable the seller will be, and then what they paid for it's a good indicator on how negotiable they can be, because typically people don't want to pay to sell their house after they pay their mortgage off. So we can pull up all that info and really dial it in for you so you can be really competitive with your offer. How long does the process take? From contract to close, it typically takes 30 to 45 days, which you have a 10-day inspection period. After that, those inspections are completed. You order the appraisal, and most of the time is spent working on the loan. And once the loan is completed and clear to close, which takes about 30 to 45 days, then you can close on the property.
Another question we got from Facebook was best way for a first-time home buyer to get into somewhere without being completely screwed.
Excellent question.
Excellent question. And that's, just that kind of leads us back to the beginning, but it's really important to talk to a professional and get some advice about what you're about to do and do the things in the right order so that you're comfortable with the process and you know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to work with a buyer's agent. You don't have to pay them because In a real estate transaction, the commission is typically paid by the seller. So don't try and go it alone and outsmart the system, or expect that if you call the listing agent with a name on the sign that they're going to reduce their commission to give you a better deal. It just doesn't happen. So you end up going unrepresented in a real estate transaction, and that's how you can get really screwed, to be honest. So interview a few realtors, find one that you're comfortable with, stick with them, and everything will work out just fine.
Absolutely. All right, and that concludes the list of our buyer questions for today. I guess feel free always, if you have any, shoot some or make a note below, and we'll try to answer them.
Yeah. If you have any additional questions, we're here for you. It's unlike lawyers who are going to charge you by the hour or by the minute. It's free to call us, so you can reach out to us anytime.
Absolutely. Thanks.